Thank you, everyone, and it's just an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation to present to you today. So my name's Bronwyn Camac, and I'm the Director of the Geological Survey. I'd like to thank Nicole and Mark and the SAEMC Organising Committee for the opportunity to represent the Department for Energy and Mining. Before we start, before we start reviewing the exploration and mining activities for the year, I'd like to acknowledge that we are guests here on Kaurna land and that everything the Department for Energy and Mining does impacts on Aboriginal country, the sea, the sky, its people, and the spiritual and cultural connections which have existed since the first sunrise. Our responsibility is to share our collective knowledge, recognise a difficult history, respect the relationships made over time, and create a stronger future. We are ready to walk, learn, and work together. So I'll start off on this. You may have heard the South Australian Government has an economic statement. And one of the things that we at the Geological Survey and the Department for Energy and Mining is aligned with is this statement of capitalising on the green economy. But really, what does that mean? It's behind it is the economic drivers which deliver a net zero carbon emission so that we are no longer contributing to global warming. We need to get to net zero by 2050 if we're to meet the expectations of the Paris Accord, which Australia signed in 2016. Rystad, in their global scenarios this year, forecast that the global energy system is set for transformational change. Renewables such as solar and wind farms and batteries are being installed at unprecedented pace, and that electric vehicles have now reached double-digit shares in the total sales market. Meanwhile, the need for fossil fuels is still growing, and the global CO2 emissions reached 39 gigatons last year. They state that 3 things are required to move this transition to net zero. These are clean up and grow the power sector, electrify everything, or as much as possible, and address the residual emissions. And you can see that the department and the work that the department's doing through lots of different strategies across the industry are really aligned to these 3 things. Okay, so with the mining industry, what do we focus on? So we focus on electrifying everything. This is crazy. What have I done here? Right. The International Energy Agency statistics show that whilst there are a low geopolitical risk, we have mature markets, and the world needs 31% more copper than we know exists today. These graphs show that global copper supply is dominated by 3 main countries, Chile, Peru, and the DRC. Unfortunately, these copper supplies are marked as having high ESG and climate risk exposure. South Australia is helping to fill that gap and reduce supply chain ESG risk at the same time. And when we think of graphite, the expected supply is not such a grim story, with around 12% demand growth in excess. However, the risks on supply of graphite are huge. High risks on ESG, supply chain diversification, and high geopolitical risk as the supply of this commodity and of battery anode material is dominated by one country. So what can we do about this? The South Australian Government has a laser focus on the 3 actions required to meet net zero for the State Prosperity Plan. The reindustrialisation of the Upper Spencer Gulf region, which is in the perfect confluence of high renewable energy generation and close to our world-class copper, magnetite and graphite resources. Industry is working really hard in South Australia to deliver into the global demand. Mining accounts for 42% of this state exports. This graph shows that industry has achieved record sales of our resources over the last year, also with about $10 billion in gross production sales achieved. Along with this, royalties returned to South Australia of around $422 million demonstrate the value of this industry to our state. Copper is doing the heavy lifting, and with gold price at record highs and nearly a 500% increase over the last 20 years, it's not surprising that we're seeing response in the market with gold sales. Uranium is a hot commodity in more ways than one, with many countries looking to nuclear fuel as a key enabler to meet their ambition for a net zero future. Sales of uranium are responding, and we are seeing a huge uplift in uranium exploration as a result. The market for industrial minerals, which comprise many of the critical minerals, continues to strengthen as well, and showing growth in this market. Okay. Exploration expenditure for the last period is 31% higher than the previous year and highest for over the last 10 years. We've seen over $200 million spent on copper exploration, mainly driven by BHP's program in the Olympic Deeps and Oak Dam projects. But as we've seen, copper is in great demand, and BHP is showing that we can go deeper than ever before. Exploration in uranium, gold and iron ore have also increased over the year. When we just compare ourselves to our nearest neighbours, South Australia is going fairly strong as the fourth largest jurisdiction for exploration expenditure. And if you take coal expenditure out of the equation, then we edge it over New South Wales to become the third. But probably more importantly, the trend in the data show that South Australia is experiencing the largest growth of all the jurisdictions over the last 3 years. So what's been going on in copper exploration in South Australia? Coda Minerals, with their Elizabeth Creek project, have completed an updated scoping study and metallurgical test work. This is a major copper cobalt resource with over 1 million tonnes contained of copper equivalent, all less than 400 metres depth, with a robust economics. Coda are planning more exploration in Q1 next year, including drilling at Emmy East and Oakton, plus undertaking an AEM geophysics survey at Oakton and at Canegrass. Oh, sorry, I'm not meant to move yet. BHP are looking to grow copper production in South Australia to potentially double current production by the middle of the next decade. FID on Phase 1 smelter and refinery expansion is planned for the first half of 2027, and with its plans to double production by the mid-2030. Exploration last year, diving under Olympic Dam, has resulted in a huge opportunity for high-grade copper, averaging 1% copper in the OD Deeps project. After a large amount of drilling, of about 158 kilometres of drilling at the Oak Dam prospect, this has resulted in a maiden inferred resource of 1.3 billion tonnes gold, of 0.66 copper grade and a 0.3 grams per tonne gold grade. A higher grade area of around 220 million tonnes with a grade of 1.96 copper and 0.68 gold has been identified as a high grade region for its first potential mine. Havilah announced in September this year a new deposit, a 12 metre, over 104 metre length of 1.57 copper and some cobalt, and also some gold located around 200 metres outside of its Mutooroo JORC measured resource envelope. In other news, Mark Metals have acquired Rex Minerals for around $393 million and are currently undertaking ground road construction around the mine site. And in the sedimentary copper play, last month Hillgrove Resources reported a substantial increase in its mineral resource estimate and a maiden ore reserve at its Emily Star and North Kavanagh projects, representing a 96% increase in contained copper and a 138% increase in contained gold since their 2022 estimates. We're looking forward to more positive results at Camac 2 in the future. And Discover and Investigator Resources have released information on a broad zone of mineralisation intersected over 2 kilometres, including 11 metres at 1.2 copper from 59 metre intersection in their Panati sediment-hosted copper project. And FMQ Boss Energy farming agreement at Honeymoon has also resulted in some really great results. Mineralisation of stratiform and vein-hosted copper within the Bimba Formation in that deposit. And finishing up Stellar Metals at their Barata copper project, they've identified some stratigraphically controlled mineralised gossans within the Adelaide Willipra Formation, mapped over a 3.4 kilometre strike length with consistent mineralisation reported at surface. It's open at both ends. Iron ore and copper gold, or ICG deposits, underpin our state's economy, delivering 138.8 million US dollars in royalties from BHP's Copper SA project, which encompasses the 3 big mines in the Olympic domain in the eastern Gawler Craton, with future mining develops to feed copper, gold and uranium to the world. The Geological Survey is a key collaborator on developing the copper strategy for the state, this new copper strategy that's coming out. We see copper as a key metal underpinning the green transition, and SA is well placed to become a global partner of choice. We are the copper state of Australia, with about 2/3 of Australia's resource right here in South Australia, but new discoveries are still rare. We plan to continue working with our junior explorers and our majors to drive value from our digital and drill core asset set data. As I said, the Geological Survey has been very active in a copper exploration space, with several projects either directly or indirectly providing key insights into all the mineral systems responsible for our copper deposits. These projects include the collaboration with the CSIRO on the sedimentary copper, and for those of you who were at Discovery Day yesterday, you would have heard a wrap-up of this project by Adrian Fabris. Adrian also released a seminal report this year on the reference drill holes from ISEG and associated deposits. Other projects which have a general exploration component but can deliver important insights include the current NDI drilling program in the northern Gawler Craton region and the Critical Minerals project, which has its roots in copper projects. And the 2 large digital projects, South Australian Discovery Mapping, which is already delivering structural mapping at key time slices and modern digital explanatory notes, and the recently commenced SARIG Core Intelligence project, which plans to deliver digital core data to our explorers and developers in a modern and seamless way. For those who are new to South Australia, we have a very long, in fact nearly 120-year history in the exploration and production of uranium. SA hosts the world's largest uranium resource, with 23% of the world's resource, and it is the world's 4th largest supplier of uranium. South Australia is only one of 2 jurisdictions in Australia that have regulations permitting the export of radioactive products, and the only state that is currently exporting uranium oxide. Where are we up to? Okay. You can see here from this summary that activity is ramping up in the state. We have about 13 companies actively exploring for uranium now, and there has been a huge statewide increase in exploration, with about 26 million spent over the last financial year, and the most spent from the last 12 years. Mining activities includes the Honeymoon restart and its first uranium oxide shipment made in July this year. And in uranium greenfields exploration, we have Alligator Energy planning to advance their Samphire uranium project by identifying and testing highly prospective exploration targets at the Alligator Rivers and expand the Big Lake uranium discovery in the Cooper Basin. Norfolk Metals are active in their Orrery project in the Wallaway and a Paleogene to Neogene basin that unconformably overlies the Adelaide Rift complex. And Boss Energy is chasing paleo-channel sequences in the northern Murray Basin. Australian Rare Earths, with their Overland uranium project in the northern Murray, have commenced drilling in October. And Lincoln Minerals, investigating historical data at Jungle Dam, Carinya and Whiteflat, have recently opened a data room looking for partners to keep momentum going in that project. The Geological Survey has been working on several projects and various studies to help drive exploration in uranium in the state, from Steve Hoare and Neville Alley's Bulletin 57, which provides evidential support for Cretaceous glaciation, adding tillite material to increase the amount of uranium in the system in the Eyre and Arramanga basins, to the NDI drilling campaign in the northern Gawler, which I've mentioned before. The GSSA is continuing its work to uncover new mineral systems, and adding data and geological insights to help our explorers. The South Australian Discovery Mapping Project is providing high-resolution structural elements through time to deepen our understanding of fluid migration and mechanisms. The Critical Minerals Project has also been working on resampling core from legacy drill core and sampling mine waste for geochemical analysis. South Australia has 10% of Australia's iron ore and has the second largest resource in Australia. The difference is that it's 95% magnetite. This year we've heard a lot about magnetite, and there's a great reason for that. South Australia hosts high quality magnetite and a lot of it. Due to some recent drilling activities in the Middlebacks, Camac was able to increase their resource position and take the state's total resource of magnetite up to 19 billion tonnes. The Department for Energy and Mining has been hard at work developing a green iron opportunity, and it set itself an ambitious aim to embed renewable energy and create an opportunity to re-industrialise the Upper Spencer Gulf. The result of this is a new market for value-added magnetite, which will attract a premium to its producers. Resource upgrades at Tunghilia and Tarcoola in the last 12 months brings Barton total gold resources to 52.3 million tonnes at just under 1 gram per tonne on average in the central Gawler Craton. So major drilling started at Tarcoola early in October, and if you haven't seen this report book from the GSSA, which was released last year by Justin Gum and Mark Pawley, it's definitely worth downloading a copy from SARIG, where gold systems have been investigated and updated for the Gawler Craton. The Eyre Peninsula is highly prospective for graphite. There are a number of companies actively exploring for graphite and are at various stages, with Renascor being the most advanced with their Civior project. Lincoln Minerals have been forging ahead this year and have completed a pre-feasibility study at Kookaburra Gully. And iTech Minerals at their Eyre Peninsula Graphite project increased their mineral resource by over 300%, up to just over 35 million tonnes at 6% TGC. Excellent metallurgical characteristics with a proven 95% recovery of 94% TGC concentrate. A major exploration target at Yeltana is reported at between around 25 to 59 million tonnes, with other drilling intersections including a 15-metre intersection of just over 20% TGC at the Francis and Rock Valley Creek, where a grab sample of ore material was 9 to 12% flake graphite at 80 to 88% TGC. Several occurrences are also known from the Aleri region in the Curnamona province, commonly associated with the Saltbush group of the Williama supergroup. And on other critical minerals, our high purity alumina and kaolin, Andromeda have completed some lab scale tests and have produced 99.99% purity from kaolin sourced from the Great White Project. And Camac materials have a pilot plant study has produced 99.9% purity from an Eyre Peninsula kaolin resource in September this year. So very exciting in kaolin, and you'll see I've put some pictures here of the commodity reports that the Critical Minerals Project from the GSSA have produced that have looked across the state in each of these materials. So please go on SARIG and download these if you haven't already. In the rare earth space, exploration is still very active across the state in 2024. With Australian Rare Earths increasing its Copper total mineral resource up to 236 million tonnes, a 27% increase on previous resource estimates. Cobra Resources at their Boland Ionic Rare Earth project have reported a recent bench scale study confirmed suitability for ISR mining, with recoveries up to 56% TREO achieved in their test work. And as I said, just a reminder for those exploring and interested in critical minerals that the GSSA have released over 17 report books this year. Here you'll see these examples of the commodity-based booklets, which have been prepared to give you easily consumed overview across South Australia for the top 8 most prospective critical minerals in the state. And also only this week we've released Dee Zyback's report on rare earths in the Curnamona, so that's really just come out in the last few days. This report details new geochemistry and age data acquired in the Curnamona province. Titanium. We just had this significant discovery this year, announced by Petrotherm in September. where they reported intersecting an exceptional high-grade titanium-rich heavy mineral sands deposit in their Muckanippi project in the Central Gawler. Petrotherm noted that they recognised the mineralisation from mapping and surface sampling and from sampling key legacy drill hole acquired as part of a 1991 government-funded drilling program and was accessed through the South Australian Drill Corps Reference Library. Peter Reid is here later today, and I'm really excited to hear more about this exciting project. And to finish off this review of mining and exploration in South Australia, it would be remiss of me not to mention a significant discovery of natural hydrogen and helium-3 and 4 made over the last couple of years on the Yorke Peninsula by Gold Hydrogen. Remember what Rystad said? Clean up and grow the energy sector. As one of the key actions to meet our net zero targets, producing hydrogen from natural sources could be a game changer for the energy mix in South Australia. The crustal-sourced helium-4 has many important uses, including medical, industrial, and of course balloons. But interestingly, Gold Hydrogen have reported sampling helium-3 from their Ramsay project. Helium-3 is sourced from the mantle and is very rare, especially onshore. It's used as a fuel and a cooling agent in nuclear fusion, quantum computing, medical imaging, cryogenics, and the current prices for helium-3 exceed $2,500 per litre. This stuff doesn't go in balloons. Just to finish off, our key takeaways. Mineral exploration is thriving in South Australia with record investment in copper and increases in uranium and gold underpinned by strong markets. The GSSA is driving projects to underpin the next generation of discoveries. Copper projects are ramping up. Uranium exploration is hot and moving into greenfields areas across the state. Statewide magnetite resource base has increased 18% since 2018. The Eyre Peninsula is continuing to emerge as a critical mineral hotspot, with graphite, rare earth elements and kaolin projects developing. An exciting new titanium discovery in the Northern Gawler by Petrotherm, and hydrogen and helium discovered by Gold Hydrogen. So with that, I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.